Hello. Every forest has its own story. Some are simple about hunting or quiet walks. Others are the kind that make you listen to every rustle. I want to tell you one of them. A story told to me by a man who lives in an old cabin on the edge of a vast, silent forest.
Hello. Let me tell you a story from my life. Once, about 15 years ago, in autumn, when the forest was already preparing for winter, I went to check the old logging trail on the northern side. The rain was fine and cold, and mist hung between the pines, as if someone had deliberately hidden all the puffs. I was about to turn back when I suddenly heard a faint ringing, like glass striking metal. At first, I thought I imagined it, but the sound came again. I followed it and came out to an old spruce glade. There, in the very center, stood a rusty bell on a wooden post. I had never seen it before, though I had often been in those parts. When I touched the bell, the forest around me grew unusually silent. Even the rain seemed to stop falling. And then, from the mist, stepped out a deer enormous, with antlers silvered like frost. He looked straight at me, motionless. We stood there for perhaps a minute until he slowly turned and vanished among the trees. When I looked back, the bell was already lying on the ground, and the post was half rotten. Since then, I have never seen it again, no matter how I searched. But sometimes, on especially quiet evenings, I think I can still hear that ringing from somewhere deep in the forest. Since then, I often wondered who that deer was. The old men in the village used to say that every great forest has its master, a spirit who guards the animals and the trees. And that he appears only to those who have crossed, knowingly or not, the invisible boundary of his domain. Years passed. I had almost forgotten that meeting, but one winter, in the middle of a blizzard, a young hunter got lost. I found him only by morning, exhausted, near an old stump. He told me that during the night, when he had all but lost his strength, an enormous deer came to him. The old men in the village used to say that every great forest has its master, a spirit who guards the animals and the trees. It walked slowly ahead, stopping now and then to wait for the hunter to catch up. It led him between the spruces until he saw the faint light of my cabin. Then I understood. It was no accident that I met him that autumn. Perhaps he had been testing me, looking into my eyes. And maybe, from that day on, he allowed me to remain in these parts and watch over the forest alongside him. Sometimes, on the quietest evenings, when rain taps against the roof, I place a cup of tea on the table and another empty one just in case. Who knows? Perhaps the old master might decide to drop by for a visit. Perhaps all this will sound like a fairy tale to you. Or perhaps not. But if one night you hear a gentle chime deep in the forest, don't be afraid. It only means the old guardian still walks among the trees. Thank you for sharing this evening by the warmth of the stove. May your own forests always hold a touch of silence and a little wonder. Until we meet again.
Perhaps this story is just a beautiful legend. Or maybe it happened exactly as he told it. But one thing I know for sure, in the old forests, there's always room for a little magic. You just have to know how to hear it. The forest still keeps many stories. And I'll be here to share them with you. Thank you for spending this evening with me by the fire. May your home always have warmth, quiet, and a touch of wonder. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And I'll see you in the next story. See you soon.